I never thought I'd be the type of person to end up in this situation, but here I am, sitting in our empty master bedroom, staring at his side of the closet. The hangers are still swaying slightly. I'm Savannah, 29, and I've been married to James. 38 for 4 years. Well, I guess I should say I was married to James. Looking back, maybe I pushed too hard. But honestly, when you're married to someone who barely shows any ambition or drive, what else are you supposed to do? I met James when I was finishing my MBA. He was already established in his career as an environmental engineer, and I thought, I'd found someone stable, someone who matched my energy. But people change, right? Or maybe they just show their true colors. The breaking point wasn't some dramatic fight or scandal. It was more like death by 1,000 cuts. Every time I come home from my consulting job to find him content with his 9-to-5 routine. Every time he'd pass up a promotion opportunity because he was satisfied with his current position. Every time he'd rather spend time in his garden instead. Of networking at industry events with me, it all just built up. Last month, I landed a huge project at work. Like, career-making huge, the kind that gets you noticed by the executive team. I was pulling late nights, coordinating with international clients, really showing what I'm capable of, and James? He'd just ask if I wanted to watch some stupid show with him or suggest we take a weekend trip to visit his parents. It's like he couldn't read the room. I tried explaining to him how important this was for us. This could mean a partner track position. I tell him we could finally afford that house in Brighton Hills. But he'd just give me this look, like I was speaking a foreign language. We're doing fine, Sav, he'd say. Maybe we should focus on enjoying what we have. Enjoying what? We have? We were living in a decent but totally average subdivision while my colleague Rachel just moved into a lakefront property. Her husband had the right idea. He switched jobs 3 times in the past 2 years, each time leveraging a better offer. Meanwhile, James was proud of his 10 years at the same company. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago. I just finished a crucial presentation, and instead of being there to support me, James was at some community garden meeting. When he came home, dirt still under his fingernails. I just lost it. I laid out exactly how his lack of ambition was, holding us back. How embarrassing it was to have a husband who was content with mediocrity while everyone else was pushing forward. You're wasting your potential, I told him. Do you know how it looks when my husband would rather play in the dirt than advance his career? I thought I married someone with drive, not someone who peaked in their 30s. He tried to argue that there was more to life than climbing the corporate ladder, that he was proud of his work-life balance. Balance? More like settling. I couldn't stop myself. Everything I'd been holding back just came pouring out. You're failing us, I said. Failing me? You're supposed to be my partner, but you're dead weight. A failure as a husband who can't even match his wife's ambition. And thank God we don't have kids yet, because you'd be a failure as a father too, teaching them it's okay to be average. I expected him to fight back, to finally show some passion about something. Instead, he just got really quiet. He went to his study and stayed there all night. The next few days were tense. He went to work, came home, barely said a word. I figured he was processing what I'd said, maybe finally realizing he needed to step up. Then yesterday, I came home late from work again. The house felt different. At first, I couldn't put my finger on it. Then I noticed his laptop was gone from the kitchen counter. His keys were in the bowl by the door. When I went upstairs, the closet door was open and half the hangers were empty. No note, no text, no email. Just gone. I've called him 20 times since last night. Straight to voicemail. His best friend won't tell me anything except that James is safe. Safe? What about me? What about our life together? How dare he just walk away instead of facing this head-on? My mom says I should give him space. That men need time to process. Process what? The truth? I'm the one who's been carrying this relationship forward while he's been content to coast. If anyone needs space to process, it's me. I keep looking at our wedding photos on the wall. We looked so perfect, so promising. When did he decide it was okay to stop trying? When did he become so complacent? My phone's buzzing again, probably Rachel checking in. She's been texting nonstop since I told her what happened. I should answer, but right now I just need to figure out my next move, because this isn't how our story is supposed to end. It's been 3 days since I last wrote, and everything's gotten even more complicated. James finally agreed to meet me at Riverside Park, neutral ground, he called it. Like we're some kind of opposing armies instead of husband and wife. I got there early wearing the blue dress he always liked, armed with all the reasons why he was overreacting to what was just an honest conversation about our future. I spotted him sitting at a bench near the water wearing that faded Stanford engineering hoodie he refuses to replace. He looked tired, older somehow, but he'd shaved and his hair was neatly trimmed. Part of me wanted to run up and hug him, tell him to come home so we could forget this whole thing. But another part of me remembered how he'd just walked out. How? He'd abandoned our marriage instead of stepping up. "You look well," he said when I sat down, like we were casual acquaintances running into each other at Whole Foods. I waited for him to say more, to apologize for disappearing, but he just sat there watching the ducks. Finally, I couldn't take the silence anymore. "So that's it? You're not even going to explain why you left?" He turned to look at me and his eyes were different, distant, like he was looking at a stranger. "I think you explained it pretty clearly. Sav, I'm a failure, deadweight, not good enough to be your husband or a potential father." I was upset. I said, "You know how intense things get during big projects. I just needed you to understand how important this is for our future." "Our future," he repeated slowly. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about that, about what you said regarding my career. Choices and ambition." He shifted on the bench, turning to face me fully. "Did you ever consider that maybe I'm exactly where I want to be?" I felt that familiar frustration bubbling up. "How can you say that? You could be making twice what you make now if you just—" "Let me finish," he cut in, his voice firm but not angry. "I've spent the last 10 years developing sustainable water treatment systems. My work has helped bring clean water to communities that desperately need it. Last month, my team's project in Honduras got approved for expansion. It's not flashy, it won't get me invited to charity galas, but it matters. I'm not saying your work isn't important," I tried to explain, "but you could be doing so much more. Leading bigger projects, managing larger teams. That's just it, Savannah. I don't want to manage larger teams. I don't want to spend my days in strategy meetings and budget reviews. I want to be hands-on, doing the actual work. And yes, I love my community garden because it keeps me connected to the real world outside of spreadsheets and PowerPoints, but we could have so much more," I pressed. "That house in Brighton Hills, we don't need a house in Brighton Hills." His sudden volume made a nearby jogger glance over. He lowered his voice. "Our house is perfectly fine. It's close to both our jobs. We have great neighbors and it's more than enough space for 2 people. When did having enough become such a bad thing?" I felt tears threatening to spill. "So you're just giving up? On us? On everything we planned?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "The plans keep changing, Sav. When we got married, we talked about starting a family by now. Instead, every time I bring it up, you have a new goal we need to hit first. New promotion to chase, a new house to save for. When's enough? Oh, so this is my fault? Because I have ambition? Because I want us to reach our full potential? See, there it is again. Our potential. You keep using that word, but you only mean your version of it. Your definition of success." He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Him with a group of kids, all wearing garden gloves and huge smiles. These kids from the community center? They'd never seen a tomato plant before our garden program. Now they're growing their own food, learning about sustainability. That's success to me. That's potential. I felt like we were speaking different languages. That's lovely, James, really. But we can't build a future on feel-good moments and tomato plants. Actually, we can. I make 6 figures doing work I believe in. We have a beautiful home, no debt besides the mortgage, and healthy retirement. Savings. But none of that matters to you because Rachel's husband just bought a lakefront house, right? I flinched. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is having a partner who measures your worth by your LinkedIn profile. He stood up, shoving his hands in his pockets. "I love you, Savannah. I have since the day we met, but I don't recognize you anymore. The woman I married was ambitious, yes, but she also had compassion. She understood that success isn't just about money and status. The woman you married grew up. She realized that in the real world you have to keep pushing forward or you get left behind." Left behind by whom? Your colleagues? The neighbors? When did their opinions start mattering more than your own happiness, than our happiness? I stood to, anger and hurt, making my voice shake. "So what now? You're just going to throw away our Marriage because I want more for us. No, he said quietly. I'm stepping back because you can't see that what we have is already enough, because you'd rather tear me down than accept that my dreams are different from yours. He started to walk away, then turned back. You know what the irony is? I've never been prouder of anyone than I am of you. Your drive, your intelligence, your ability to make things happen, they're incredible. I just wish you could be proud of me too. James, wait, but he was already walking away, leaving me alone with the ducks and this hollow feeling in my chest. That somehow felt worse than when he first left. I sank back onto the bench, my carefully applied makeup running with tears. My phone buzzed. Rachel asking if I wanted to come over for wine and girl talk. I ignored it. All I could think about was James' face when he showed me that photo of the garden kids. When was the last time I'd seen him that animated about anything? When was the last time I even asked? No, I'm not gonna let him turn this around on me. I'm not the one who walked away. I'm not the one who's satisfied with just existing. There has to be more to life than this, right? There has to be more than being content with enough. Another week has passed and I've really messed up, like the kind of mess up that makes all our previous problems look like nothing. I can barely write this without feeling sick to my stomach, but I need to get it out somewhere. After that disaster at the park, I threw myself into work even harder, staying at the office until midnight, taking early morning calls with overseas clients. Anything to avoid our empty house. Rachel finally convinced me to get out of my funk. By joining her and some colleagues for happy hour last Friday, I didn't even want to go, but the thought of another night alone with my thoughts was worse. We went to that new rooftop bar downtown, the one James always said was trying too hard to be sophisticated. I guess he was right about that too. Everything there screamed, look how successful we are. From the gold-rimmed cocktail glasses to the panoramic city views. Rachel kept ordering rounds of expensive champagne, saying I needed to remember my worth. You know what your problem is? She said after her third glass, you married too young. You hadn't even figured out your full potential yet. I remember getting angry at that. I'm not the one with the problem. James is the one who what? Has principles? Come on, Sav, the man literally helps bring clean water to poor communities. He's like a walking NGO commercial. She rolled her eyes, but that doesn't pay for designer bags or vacation homes. Something about the way she said it made me uncomfortable. It sounded so shallow. But then she introduced me to her friend Blake, a hedge fund manager who was in town for a conference. He was everything James wasn't. Sharp suit, luxury watch. Already talking about his next investment property. The champagne kept flowing and I kept finding myself drawn into conversation with him. I knew where it was heading. I knew it the moment Blake offered to share his Uber back to his hotel because it was on the way to my house. I knew it when I didn't correct him. The whole time there was this voice in my head screaming to stop, but another voice kept whispering that maybe this was what I needed. Someone who understood ambition, who wouldn't make me feel bad about wanting more. I woke up in his hotel room at 4 a.m., my head pounding and my stomach in knots. His Rolex was ticking on the nightstand, so loud it felt like it was inside my skull. I got dressed in the dark and ordered my own Uber, feeling like the biggest cliche in the world. The worst part? In those few minutes waiting for my ride, Blake stirred and muttered something about getting breakfast. Like this was normal. Like I was just another ambitious woman having a fun night out. I nearly threw up right there. The shame hit me in waves on the ride home. Not just about Blake, though God, that was bad enough, but about everything. I thought about James showing me that photo of the kids in his garden program. How his whole face lit up. When was the last time I felt that kind of pure joy about anything? Even my big project at work, the one I'd been killing myself over, suddenly seemed hollow. I'd been avoiding James' calls and texts since then. He's been trying to set up another meeting to talk things through, saying he thinks we can work this out if we're both willing to really listen. How am I supposed to face him now? How do I sit across from him and look into those honest eyes, knowing what I've done? Yesterday, I drove past his office building during lunch. I saw him walking out with some colleagues, laughing about something. He looked okay. Not great, but okay. He was wearing that ratty Stanford hoodie again, but somehow it didn't irritate me like it used to. Instead, I remembered how it smelled like his body wash and garden soil, how I used to steal it on cold mornings. Rachel keeps texting, saying I should live my truth and not feel bad about exploring my options. She doesn't get it. This isn't about exploring options. This is about me destroying something real because I couldn't see what was right in front of me. But even now, even feeling this guilty and disgusted with myself, there's this part of me that still thinks I wasn't entirely wrong about everything. Yes, I handled it terribly. Yes, what I did with Blake was unforgivable. But is it really so? Wrong to want more out of life? To not settle for enough when you could have everything. James texted again this morning. He wants to meet this weekend, says he's been doing a lot of thinking about our future, that he has some ideas about how we could bridge our differences. My heart actually stopped for a second when I read it. He's trying so hard to fix us, and here I am carrying this secret that would destroy any chance of reconciliation. I should tell him. I know I should, but every time I think about it, about seeing the look in his eyes when he realizes what I've done, I can't breathe. So I sit. Here in our house, my house now, I guess, surrounded by all these things I thought were so important. The designer furniture that James said was unnecessary. The huge TV I insisted we needed. The Frame magazine article about my company's success. None of it feels like enough anymore, but maybe that's been the problem all along. Nothing ever felt like enough to me. And now I might have broken the one thing that actually was. The meeting I've been dreading finally happened yesterday. James suggested we meet at our house. Not my house, our house, he emphasized. I spent the whole morning trying to make everything perfect, like somehow having the right coffee and his favorite snacks would make up for everything I'd done. He arrived right on time, of course. That was always his thing. Reliability, the same quality I used to mock as boring. He looked different, though, more resolved somehow. He'd gotten a haircut, was wearing a new blue button-down instead of his usual casual clothes. My stomach dropped when I realized this wasn't going to be the reconciliation I'd hoped for. I've been seeing a therapist, he said after we settled in the living room. No small talk. No warm-up. She's helped me understand some things about us, about myself, about why I've been feeling so diminished in our marriage. I opened my mouth to argue, but he held up his hand. Please, let me finish. I need to say this. He took a deep breath. I love what I do, Savannah. I love that my work makes a real difference in people's lives. I love my community garden program, and yes, I love that I can leave work at 5 p.m. and have time to actually live my life. That's not lack of ambition. It's choosing a different kind of success. I know, I said quietly. I've been thinking about that too. Have you? Because here's what I think. You leaned forward, eyes intense. I think you're so scared of not being extraordinary that you've forgotten how to just be happy. Everything has to be bigger, better, more impressive. But when is it enough, Sav? When do you get to stop and actually enjoy what you've built? The easiest defense and the guilt was choking me. I had to tell him. James, there's something. I saw you, Savannah. 4 words. 4 simple words that made my world stop spinning. Last Friday, I was picking up takeout downtown when I saw you getting into that Uber. I saw who you were with. The room started spinning. James, I don't. His voice cracked. Just don't. You? No, it's funny. I came by that night to surprise you. I had this whole speech planned about how we could compromise. Maybe I could take on more responsibility at work, and you could scale back just a little. Find a balance. I even bought your favorite gelato. He laughed, but it sounded wrong. I waited for hours. Called hospitals when you didn't come home. Convinced myself something terrible had happened. I was crying now. Ugly sobs that I couldn't control. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk and upset and what? Looking for someone more ambitious? The bitterness in his voice felt like a slap. You know what real ambition is, Savannah? It's working on something you believe in even when it's not flashy. It's choosing to be kind when it's easier to be cruel. It's building a marriage based on trust and respect, not competition and status. I know I messed up, I whispered. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. Take some time. No. He stood up and I noticed he wasn't wearing his wedding ring. We can't fix this because you still don't get it. You're not sorry about what you did. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry because this makes you look bad. Even now, you're probably wondering what people will say when they find out. He wasn't entirely wrong. Part of me was already dreading the gossip, the judgment. Rachel's fake sympathy. The office whispers. I filed for divorce. Last week, he said quietly. The papers are being delivered tomorrow. I'm not doing this to punish you. Sav, I'm doing it because we want fundamentally different things from life. And neither of us should have to change who we are to make this work. But I love you, I said, hating how small my voice sounded. Maybe you do, but you love your idea of success more. He walked to the door, then turned back. You know what the saddest part is? You're already successful. You have a great career, a beautiful home, respect in your field. But you'll never see it because you're too busy looking at what everyone else has. He left then, and this time I knew it was for good. I sat there for hours, surrounded by all the expensive things I'd insisted we needed. The designer lamp that cost more than James's entire garden program budget, the smart home system he said was unnecessary. The framed achievements on the walls. My phone kept buzzing. Probably Rachel, wanting to know how it went. I turned it off. For the first time in years, I just sat in silence, really looking at my life. I thought about James's face when he talked. About his water treatment projects. About those kids in his garden program. About all the times he tried to share his joy with me and I dismissed it as settling for less. The divorce papers arrived this morning. James was thorough. He's not asking for anything except his personal belongings and garden equipment. He even left me the house I was so proud of. But sitting here now, it feels less like a victory and more like a monument to everything I got wrong. I keep thinking about what he said about being extraordinary versus being happy. When did I decide they couldn't be the same thing? When did I start measuring success by other people's standards instead of my own? I don't know what happens next. My big project at work doesn't seem so important anymore. Rachel's calls go straight to voicemail. The house feels too big, too empty, too much. Maybe James was right. Maybe I never learned how to be satisfied with enough. But I'm starting to think that's something I need to learn. Not for him, it's too late for that, but for myself. Because all this ambition, all this pushing for more, it's left me with a lot of expensive things and absolutely no one to share them with. I told him he was a failure as a husband and father. Turns out, I was the one who failed. At being a wife. At being honest, at recognizing what really matters, and now I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I broke all by myself.